I believe that MicroStrategy just made plans to purchase $500 billion worth of Bitcoin in the next 3 years. MicroStrategy is proposing to increase authorized shares from 330 million to 10.3 billion and amend its 2023 equity incentive plan so that it can automatically award equity to new directors joining the board. In today's video, I'm going to explain why MicroStrategy isn't a Ponzi scheme, why it's doing this, and why this paves the way for MicroStrategy to join the $1 trillion company club. The 2021 plan was just the beginning. You won't believe what comes next. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. Every time Michael Saylor makes a comment like this, people are shocked.
Every day for the past 4 years, I've said, buy Bitcoin, don't sell the Bitcoin. I'm going to be buying more Bitcoin. I'm going to be buying Bitcoin at the top forever. I joked with Dave Portnoy today. He said, I missed it at 10,000. I missed it at 20,000. I missed it at 100,000. I said, Dave, it's still less than $1 million a coin. You're getting a 90% discount from $1 million a coin. I'm sure that I will be buying Bitcoin at $1 million a coin, probably $1 billion a day of Bitcoin at $1 million a coin. And so I think it's a very simple idea. It's just keep buying Bitcoin with your spare capital. It's going to appreciate against the dollar forever.
But since 2020, they've been incredibly clear, transparent, and focused on one thing: buying more Bitcoin and buying as much as they can, as fast as they can.
Because once you get Bitcoin and it clicks in your mind, your immediate reaction is, oh, I got to hurry and buy as much as I can because someone else is going to go take all my Bitcoin away from me. So like in 2020, when I started buying Bitcoin, I was thinking, oh no, I got to do this in a hurry because someone's going to figure it out and the price is going to 10x. And I better get it before it 10x's.
In October of this year, MicroStrategy announced its 21-21 plan to purchase $42 billion worth of Bitcoin, $21 billion by issuing equity, and $21 billion by raising convertible debt. The chart that they shared in their investor presentation is absolutely laughable, showing that they were going to purchase this $42 billion over the next 3 years. Given the demand that they're seeing in the marketplace, they're going to surpass this amount in about 3 months. They continue their weekend buying spree of buying more Bitcoin by buying 5,262 Bitcoin to bring their total stack to 444,262 Bitcoin. And this has all been part of a public, transparent plan.
So you're buying?
Yeah, I'll be buying at the top forever.
So far, they've used $13.9 billion of their $21 billion ATM equity issuance plan for about 66% of the total allocation. They've tapped $3 billion of their $21 billion debt program. That brings their total amount raised to about $17 billion of their $42 billion total. And if you project this out, if they were to surpass their $42 billion mark in 3 months, that means that they're going to raise about $168 billion worth of Bitcoin in a year. And over the course of 3 years, that's $504 billion worth of Bitcoin. And it's because their eyes are set on a much bigger number, a $3 trillion market.
What are we going to do? Well, we're going to do this $42 billion and then rinse and repeat and double it and double it and double it and double it. And you're going to say like, well, where does it end? Well, I guess when we've taken 1% of the fixed income market, which is $3 trillion, and when we levered it up and we've got 10 billion, we bought 3 trillion of Bitcoin and we're trading at $10 trillion in market cap, we'll be growing 20% a year.
Bitcoin OG American Huddle believes that their next fundraising announcement will be for $210 billion.
Your point that he goes even harder is something I would have to really sit down and think about, because I don't know, I guess I've just been telling myself this, what I said earlier, and then you kind of came back with an opposite opinion. I need to sit down and think about that.
I think he's going to go for $210 billion. That's what I think the next one is.
And this dovetails perfectly with the recent news that MicroStrategy is issuing a special shareholders meeting for them to increase the amount of authorized shares from 330 million to 10.3 billion of common shares, and then to increase the preferred shares from 5 million to just over 1 billion. For all of the people saying that MicroStrategy is diluting its shareholders by 97%, well, that's patently false. When MicroStrategy issued its charter to become a public company, it authorized 330 million shares. And so far, they've issued 280 million of their 330 million authorized shares, which means that if they were to do a stock split, if they were to issue more equity, or they were going to do another convertible debt offering, they were going to need to increase this amount. This is limiting them financially. What they're planning to do, and what's more important, is that this 10 billion worth of authorized shares puts them on par with some of the biggest companies in the world. Companies like Amazon, Apple, Meta, Nvidia, which have billions of authorized shares to be able to use and leverage for things like acquisitions of other companies, do stock splits. They can issue debt and do all sorts of financing mechanisms. MicroStrategy is planning to become part of this trillion-dollar club. And with Bitcoin continuing to grow at the rate and pace that it is, this is an inevitability. And here's why it will happen. But before we go into that, I want to talk about one of our sponsors. You do not actually own Bitcoin if you don't take self-custody of Bitcoin, and you are at risk of losing your self-custody of Bitcoin if you don't do it the right way. That's why the Bitcoin way exists. Members of their team will walk you through proper 100% self-custody, step by step, so you can remove all counterparty risk, stop sharing keys with third parties, and ensure you protect your generational wealth the right way. Go to thebitcoinway.com and schedule a free 30-minute consultation with their team.
Wall Street will eventually bend the knee to Bitcoin. And it's almost hard to believe right now. It's kind of like I said 2 or 3 years ago that I think MicroStrategy is going to be the largest company by market cap by the year 2033 or 2034. I still think that's very possible. And people just laughed at me and mocked. I'm like, just wait. Like, you don't understand like how crazy this is. And if you can do speculative arbitrage by borrowing dollars and buying Bitcoin with that and just growing and growing and growing, and then plus riding the tails of the exponential growth of the Bitcoin monetary network, the upside is almost limitless, especially when you compare it to limitless fiat currency creation.
It's crazy that people are still calling MicroStrategy a Ponzi scheme. MicroStrategy is simply executing the largest and most simple trading strategy in all of TradFi, and that's the Japanese yen carry trade. What is this trade exactly? Well, corporations, companies, hedge funds, institutions will borrow in a low volatility currency like the yen at very low rates. And then they will take that capital and invest it into other currencies that are denominated in things that are growing faster or that have a higher yield. And so they're taking a low interest borrowing instrument and investing into a higher yield return asset. And some of them get a little bit crazier on this trade by leveraging this up in order to produce a greater yield. How big is this trade? Conservatively, it's estimated to be about $1 trillion worth of capital to $4 trillion worth of capital. So how is this any different than MicroStrategy borrowing $3 billion due in 2029 to buy Bitcoin, which is growing 60% a year, and oh, by the way, is the best performing asset in the world 11 out of the last 14 years. Here's how the two trades compare side by side. In the Japanese yen carry trade, they borrow in a low interest currency, or the Japanese yen. In MicroStrategy's strategy, or the Bitcoin carry trade, they borrow in convertible debt at 0% interest rates, typically. The purpose of borrowing in the Japanese yen carry trade is to invest in the higher yielding assets. In MicroStrategy's case, it's to buy more Bitcoin. The profit mechanisms of these trades are the following. In the Japanese yen carry trade, it's when there's interest rate differentials between the borrowing currency and the investment currency. And in MicroStrategy's case, it's just in the appreciation of Bitcoin, which is hard cap, programmable, perfectly engineered money, which is designed to go up forever in light of an increasing fiat dollar and debt debasement system. The Japanese yen carry trade is actually more risky. When things like the dollar rise rapidly, like the dollar being at 108 right now, well, this puts pressure on the Japanese yen carry trade, and this causes a global unwind and risk on assets. And that's why Jeff Ross called this the Bitcoin carry trade. If done well, MicroStrategy will become one of the, if not the largest company in the world. So what they're doing with this special shareholders meeting is they're increasing the financial flexibility and capacity of their balance sheet to borrow, whether through issuing shares or convertible debt, so that they can buy more Bitcoin. They've been saying that this is what they were going to do all along. I'm not sure that they imagined how many people wanted their corporate bonds, which gives zero risk, no downside, guaranteed fixed return, and the highest vol, best performing bond that's out there. MicroStrategy will simply take this capital and execute the Bitcoin carry trade. And when we look back at this playbook was obvious and in plain sight for all of us to see.
I'm old enough to remember there were businesses that were actively fighting and mocking the internet back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Again, as a value investor, people used to just literally mock Netflix. They would and talk about how awesome Blockbuster is. They would literally mock Amazon and talk about how awesome Walmart is and how Amazon will never even come close to being the same size as Walmart. And now look at, Amazon is multiples larger than Walmart. So just like you had to get that sort of internet strategy, you now have to have a Bitcoin strategy, a new monetary technology strategy, or you will become obsolete. It's just what it is. And I think that's inevitable. And so even though people think I'm crazy, 5-10 years from now, we'll be talking about that, and they'll ask me, well, did you ever see it coming? I'm like, yes, it's going to come. It has to come because it's clearly better money. It's a better monetary network for the world. And if you're not on board with it, you're going to become obsolete.
And that's why I believe that MicroStrategy is on pace to raise $500 billion in the next 3 years and will become the largest company in the world and trade in the $1 trillion market cap club. And you know who won't be shocked by this? All of the Bitcoiners who will be in Dallas, Texas from April 3rd through April 6th at the BitBlockBoom conference to celebrate these sorts of things. Hundreds of Bitcoiners in the world are going to come to hear from their favorite speakers. Speakers like Parker Lewis, Marty Bent, Guy Swan, Bob Burnett, Gary Leland, and me. Your ticket will get you access to exclusive workshops for beginners to advanced Bitcoiners, as well as offer you access to exclusive events like the Saturday Casino Night. Go to bitblockboom.com and enter the promo code BBB25 to get $100 off of your ticket. That's BBB25 for $100 off of your ticket. Prices go up on the first of the month in the new year. So get them before they go up. I hope to see you there. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Happy stacking.